You know how I do. On my way to go pick up my munchkin. So today, just want to say a quick lesson, right? Just a little lesson, a little rant. So what I did to yesterday was I had a conversation with my kids, right? Um, I started to let y'all in on the conversation. I started to let y'all in on the conversation. Just like go live while the conversation was going on. But I just kind of let it go. I let it fly because I didn't want them to feel like they're on camera, so they have to conduct themselves a certain way, and then they get more focusing on my phone and themselves in my phone than they do on what the conversation was at hand. Well, so first of all, I got to give you a background, help you understand. Um, I'm always telling y'all, or I talk to y'all about that. I don't talk about any subjects unless I've been through it or I'm closely related to it, like around it or something. And other than that, I keep my mouth. I'm gonna say probably shouldn't have. Nah, my own free will put me in a whole bunch of bad situations to the point where I left school. I left school not because I was, and my granddad had Alzheimer's, and my grandma was like 91 capacity that he needed. So I left. Me and my little brother left school, and we took turns taking care of my granddad until he passed away. But in the midst of all that, now these things, all of that type of stuff. So we were talking about white people and how white people are or how white people were back in my days and what I had to deal with and how I keep them away from that type of life because they didn't know that things existed. They were like, oh no, that's just TV, or my teacher was talking about history, and the way that we're talking about history was in a white supremacist type of way, and how in their day white people would just go get their shotgun and go chase black people down. And I said, what were they talking about it like they were proud of it, right? I already want to get them out of this school, because right now we're in the district that we're in. It's one of those things where like there's not a lot of diversity, and I need diversity for my children. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, we got to talking about that as a whole, and the funny part was when they were talking about white people, right? They don't have the understanding of white people that obviously, I've dealt with, and don't jump up there and be like, all white people aren't bad. If you got to say that, then you seriously have a problem. If you can't differentiate whether I'm talking about all white people or whether I'm just talking about the specific instances that I have dealt with certain races, white people. So, anyways, we got to talking about it. So I was telling my kids about the time that I got into this huge fight, this huge neighborhood fight, and the fight lasted about 2 or 3 days, about 3 days. And the reason why it lasted so long is because it jumped from one situation to another. It started out with there was a white lady that grew pear trees, and some of her trees would hang over her gate. And she specifically told us, little black kids, all of the pears that hang over the gate you can eat if you come by here. Well, apparently her next door neighbor didn't find that to be the thing that we should have been doing. So he chased us down as such, chased down one of my friends and grabbed him by his neck and slung him off his bike, right? Called us all little N-words, and that's all we want is we want things for free. We don't want to work for anything. And we proceeded to jump this man, right? So all my kids are silent. They don't know what to say now because in their mind, I'm fun dad. Like this, they don't see these types of things out of me. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they don't see these types of things out of me. They have no idea that I'm capable of these types of things as a child, right? So they're like, wait a minute, you beat somebody up, Dad? And I was like, well, yeah, but not just because. I said I never was out here just fighting just because. So we got into the conversation a little deeper, and I said the next day, to that neighborhood, and a couple of my friends got called some more bad words, and we went from there. And I said it just kept happening, and we kept having to deal with this this issue time and time and time again, and it got aggravating after a while. And I said, I had no idea why it was the way it was. Couldn't place my finger on it until now. Until, now obviously I'm a grown man and I can look back on these things and be like, oh, this is why this happened. You know what I'm saying? So there was an energy out there that was going on type thing. And a lot of it had to do with just the way it is. And if you don't know, some of the people that are watching it are like abroad or something like that. But it's to say the least, is one of the 13 original colonies. Let's just put it that way. Wasn't always too fond of my focal people. Anyways, long story short, uh, my kids just were quiet. And I said, is everything all right? I said, no, don't think like that. I said, that's not why I'm telling you the story. And they get quiet again. I was like, the reason why I'm telling you the story is to let you know that times have changed. Things are different. Some things are more covert, like undercover. Some things are more overt. But the stuff that we protect you from, some of it doesn't exist anymore. So we don't necessarily protect you from it. I'm waiting for the right time to tell you. I want your mind to be, I want your mind to be receptive of the lesson that I'm trying to teach you at the right time. Because I can tell you these things at 6, 7, 8 years old, but you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. You're not going to have a clue. I can tell you these things at 13, but if your mind's not developed, you're not going to have a clue. So rather than trying to force this information, I wait until you have situations to deal with in order to talk to you about it. And the same way I'm talking to you now is how I talk to my children, so that they grow up in the right frame of mind. They understand everything that it is that people are trying to talk to them, because again, words are spells, right? So I make sure I pick and choose my words very carefully, but I also use a variety of words so they can understand anybody who talks to them. And if somebody talks to them in a certain manner, my kids are very articulate. They can tell when you're full of it, and they can tell when you're, at least I feel like we do a very good job at rearing the kids in the right direction. Uh, as well as giving them a certain set of principles. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because you have to get out of your mind. I don't want to tell you what to do. Let's get that straight. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I will say this: getting out of the mindset of when you were young, or when you were a kid, or when you was a young adult, and how times were 10, 15, even 20 years ago, or maybe more. Getting out of that mindset and being able to look and see what kids, or your big brother, or your mentor, or whatever you are, getting out of that mindset and teaching the kids from what's in front of you, what's going on right now. Don't worry about what's going on, what's going to happen in the future, because the future is infinite. It can change 100 million different ways just by one decision, right? So now past experiences to say, oh, this is the lesson that I learned, and then maybe going back and revisiting that and being like, well, was that the lesson I was supposed to learn? Is there any other lessons to learn out of the situation? Taking that and combining with what's going on right now, and then applying it. And this is why I like to talk to my kids the way that I do, because they need to understand that there are a whole bunch of things that happened in the 90s and the early 2000s that'll never happen again, just because they've gone up in intelligence. Some people have regret. A lot of people have regressed, and it makes it difficult to talk to them, because you would think that since you're trying to get better, that everybody else is trying to get better, and that everybody that's around you is trying to get better. No, it is a active pruning process to keep good people around you, because people's mindsets change over time, and so does yours. So that whole thing about people is like, oh, get these people out of your life that don't mean well. Well, that's true. That story is that you need to constantly evaluate yourself, so that you can know if those people mean you well, because those people could be holding you to a standard that you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you've changed your mindset. And now, because you changed your mindset, you to a standard, or they look at you in the light like from 5 or 10 years ago, you think they mean well, but that's not the case. They just don't know that you've changed in that area of your life, or you've changed that thought process in that area of your life. They don't know that. And now you've cut some good people out of your life that didn't even know you changed, And then you say, oh, I cut people off. I ain't got time for that. My circle's so small. It's a period. Like, come on, man. You're being so cliche, and all you're doing is reciting a whole bunch of memes and trying to make that real life. Memes are just comedy. That's it. Sometimes they touch on a small piece of life, and that's what makes it a little bit more funnier than others because there's actually some truth in it. But in every good joke, there's truth. So I ain't gonna keep you a whole long time. I wasn't gonna make this, super long because I'm thinking I gotta walk in there. I'm seeing people walk inside to go get their kids, and if that's the case, then I can't. I don't feel like walking in there, but if that's what I gotta do, that's what I gotta do. Anyways, so I told you all that to say, don't hide your past from your kids. Number one. Here's the points of the rant. I should have gave it to you in the beginning, but sometimes you just got to wait for the right time to do so. And when they show that they're receptive to what it is that you're talking about, don't hold your kids, or if you're a mentor, the children of the youth, don't hold them to the standard that was 10 or 15 years ago. Don't try to put them in that mindset, of stuff that you did when you were a kid or when you were an adolescent, to say, hey, this is what you need to be doing. No, that was 10, 15 years ago. It doesn't work like that anymore. And that's it. Outside of that, that's it. There's so many other things that I want to tie into that, but it'll mess around and be like a 20, 30-minute video easy, because there's so many facets that I can link this to. So anyways, go ahead, do your thing. Y'all have a good day. I hope y'all have a good afternoon. And if you're going to work, like I got to go to work in a couple of hours, have a good work day.